My name is Henry Yu. I'm the principal of St. John's College, and I'm here to welcome you to Hot Lunch and maybe say a few words for those who have not been here before about what this is about. First, I want to acknowledge we're on the unceded traditional territory of the Musqueam and Coast Salish peoples. You can see there's a Musqueam flag behind me, and amongst the other flags that all represent residents of St. John's College, which is UBC's International Graduate College. So if there's a flag up, someone from that place has lived in UBC. So you can see this is a very appropriate place to have our gathering. The idea for this came about several years ago when some staff and faculty and fellows of the college were just thinking about ways to create a more cohesive community at UBC, and particularly among those who work the hardest, who are UBC staff who often skip lunch because they have to work through, or have a cold grabbed lunch in front of their computer screen in their cubicle. I don't know, maybe none of you have ever done that, but I see some nodding heads. And also, that's why it's called hot lunch, to have a hot lunch, but also to have a hot lunch together and to maybe just be able to meet people that maybe you've only known through an email. So after our first hot lunch, someone came up to us afterwards and sort of said, I always thought that person was male, but it turned out, because they'd never met for face-to-face. So again, to put a face to your colleagues across the university, but also I think an important thing was that the working university really is its staff. That a lot of times, in fact, we're not even sure of the org chart, but that if you call so-and-so over in such and such, over at parking, it'll get dealt with. And so these personal relations make a huge difference at this university. And I think, again, one of the things about Hot Lunch was to help enhance those personal relationships so that you know beyond just an email address or trying to look up the org chart quickly on the web who you're supposed to, that you have relationships that make it a better community for us all to work at, and that's really what's behind Hot Lunch. And so I want to acknowledge the committee that actually came up with this structure. Alish Courtney, who many of you know, Director of Ceremonies and Events, Shirley Nakata, who is our ombudsperson for students, Grace Wong from the Provost Office and Sauder, Andrew Parr, the Director of Student Housing and Hospitality Services. They're all on Alden Habakon, who is from the Equity Office. So I think one of the things that we wanted to do is to bring some of the perhaps administrators who you don't get to see much unless you work in their office, and to have them talk not about the university in the way that they're supposed to as president or vice president, but sometimes just to talk about themselves. Who are they? How did they come to their role? What do they want to do here? And so that's really been one of the most fun and interesting things about the hot lunches for, I think, many of the people who have regularly come, is just to see again a personal face. And the strange thing, I think, ironically, is for our today's guest, is that she has perhaps been one of the most personable presidents in our history. She was president, as many of you know, between 1997 and 2006, and has been, and I'll say this in a way that has been a cheerleader for this university in all of that great sense of being someone who is almost relentlessly positive about this university. And that to me is really important because I'm an alumni myself. I grew up here. UBC is this important place, not just for the students and staff and faculty here, but for the province, you could say for the country. And in some sense, I think Martha Piper, as president, former president and then president again now, has defined, this positive vision of what the university can be, but can be as well, just the potential of this place. And so, and just to reflect the interest in hearing from her, you may know, you may, for those who've been here before, we've jammed in as many people as we can in here. If we could seat some people right here without blocking the fire exit, we would. There was, as many of you, how many of you registered like in the first hour of, because if you didn't, you're not here, okay? So those people who didn't, so literally the wait list for this it was quite long. The longest, so you can tick this off on your resume, the longest wait list for hot lunch in history, right? So, no other person has garnered this kind of interest. And so that's basically the way I will introduce and welcome you up here, which is that there's lots of people who aren't in this room because they weren't organized enough to register at the very first moment that it was registration opened up. But for those of you who are probably good at eBay bidding as well and things like that, you're here. You congratulate yourself for being in the room. We are recording as well, so if you don't want to be seen on camera, just don't turn around and just watch Martha the whole time. But please join me in welcoming our president, Martha Piper.
Well, thank you very much, Henry. You know, Henry, when I was a younger woman or a younger girl, I always wanted to be a cheerleader. I tried out endlessly, never made it. And I'm not sure why I wanted to be a cheerleader, because when people now describe me as a cheerleader, I kind of go, But there is something wonderful to be able to represent an organization and cheer it on and speak to its strengths. And I don't actually do cartwheels, but you do have an opportunity to tell the story, which is just a wonderful privilege and honor, because one of the things I have been able to experience, just think about the opportunity to kind of relive your life, Back to the Future. How often do you get that? It's such a rare opportunity. And so I can see this university in a perspective that I never was able to when I was a real president, right? This is kind of a sort of president. And one of the things I can tell you categorically, and believe me, I'm objective, this university right today is so much stronger than it was a decade ago. It is extraordinary. And if you don't know it, believe it. You are currently employed and participate in one of a handful of public research universities in North America that are truly, truly great. And just to give you a piece of that, I'll give you a little quiz. The recent Times Higher Education survey of universities, you probably all know where we rank in the world, right? Top 34. That includes everything. Oxford, Cambridge, Yale, Harvard, Princeton, everything. All right, so just now let's look in North America, Canada and the US. Take out Europe, take out Asia. And then in North America, take out the privates. Take out Harvard, Yale, Princeton. Where do you think we rank? 15? We're number 6. Number 6. Go home and tell everybody. I couldn't believe it when I looked at it. I couldn't believe it. The cheerleader, number 6. So who is our company? Who are our playmates? Who are our playdates? Berkeley, UCLA, University of Toronto. We have our sights on them. University of Michigan, University of Washington, right next door, and UBC. And University of Washington and UBC are like about 2 points apart. So I think we're number 5. And I have to say, it's a tribute to the people in this room. And I say that with all sincerity. Yes, we have wonderful faculty. Yes, we have wonderful students. But honestly, you and your peers and all the staff and all the professional people make this university tick. It's what you do every day, making students feel good, welcoming people, making sure the place works, supporting our researchers, supporting our faculty, supporting our alumni, supporting and getting money, doing all the things, making sure we follow all the regulations, that we do it right, that we balance our books, that we stay out of court. And when we get in court, we win in court, So it's everything you do that makes this university great. And on behalf of all of us who cheerlead and take sort of credit for it, I say thank you, because it's not what I do, it's what you do. And if you don't believe that, you should. And the other thing I know about staff is you could work anywhere. Many of our faculty aren't so easily employed. But you could work anywhere. And you have chosen the University of British Columbia. And wow, are we not better for it? So thank you, thank you, thank you. And I hope you enjoy working for UBC as much as I am enjoying this year coming back. I'm always hesitant. People come up to me often. Usually it's at the airport, when you're kind of, in the line, boarding, and someone comes up to me and says, "Excuse me, are you Martha Piper?" And my answer is, "No, actually I look a lot like her." But then they'll say, "I met you," and I'll say, "Oh, okay." I met you in 2004 when I graduated, And that gives me tremendous, tremendous pleasure, because that's what we're all about, our students and our graduates. So look, I don't want to spend a lot of time. I know you want to ask me maybe some questions. Let me just give you a little just a real snapshot of who I am. I guess that's what I was supposed to do. I grew up in a family of 4 children, and I wasn't firstborn. I don't fulfill any of those things. I wasn't firstborn, and I wasn't the only girl. So I have an older sister, a brother, me, a younger brother. And we were very close, 6 years apart for 4 of us. So I pity my parents, but they did a wonderful job. And I was very fortunate because my grandfather, my father's father, my grandmother died when I was quite young, and he moved in with us. So I had 3 parents. I had a grandfather and a mother and a father, all of whom were graduates of the University of Michigan, which is number 4. And so I was very fortunate. I've had a very good life. I immigrated to Canada back in 1972 when my husband was recruited to McGill, and have never looked back. We were at Montreal. We lived in Montreal for about 12 years, and then we were recruited out to the University of Alberta, and then came here. And I'll tell you a very quick story. Why did I come to UBC? I had a very good friend at the time, and he's someone you all know, or probably maybe some of you older people will know, you younger people may not. He's a Canadian treasure, Don Mazinkowski. He was on the board at the University of Alberta, and I was Vice President Research at the time. And I had been approached by the consultant looking for a president at UBC. My career has been very serendipitous. I did not grow up thinking I want to be president. I grew up thinking I wanted to be a 3rd grade teacher teaching multiplication tables. But when I was approached, I didn't know what to do, because I had been approached on other things and for a variety of reasons didn't choose to pursue them. And my husband was no help, because he basically said, "If you want to do this, we'll do it." So that wasn't real helpful. So I went to Don Mazankowski one freezing cold night in Edmonton. I'll never forget it because he was helping me unplug my car. And I said, Don, I've been approached and I don't know what to do. And he looked me in the eye. And he said to me, if you want to be president, he said, you know, in life, maybe once, if you're lucky, maybe twice, you'll have an opportunity that comes and it'll never come again. Most opportunities you can say, you know, it's not the right time, my kids are too small, I really want to travel, I don't have the money, I don't feel well, I'm going to do this, then maybe I'll do it later. But he said, if you're lucky, once, maybe twice in your life, an opportunity will come that will never come again. Now, he's wrong. I have to go back actually and tell him. And he said, if you want to be president of the University of British Columbia, not just any university, but UBC, it's now. It'll never come again. Little did he know. But he would, and that made me stop and say, because I had admired UBC from U of A, I knew every statistic. I was vice president of research. I knew everything. I knew more about UBC than probably most people at UBC knew. I knew everything. Helen knows. I knew everything about UBC. I had admired it. We were trying to catch it. We were trying to do everything UBC was doing. And that one intervention by one man said, okay, I'm going to go for it. Never regretted it. Well, occasionally, but very, very, such a privilege, such an honor. So and then I'll say one more thing. Why did I come back? Because in life, most times you can't come back. So the story is very short. Most of you know I was vacationing in a very warm place, out on a beach with my grandchildren, get the call. I say, are you crazy? And upon reflection, was asked to think about it. Upon reflection, and some of you have heard me say this, I looked at all the things I've been associated with, all the nonprofits, all the stuff I've done with my kids, all the organizations, the Dalai Lama Center, all the things I've been privileged to be part of. And I said, I care for a lot of those things, but there's really only one I care deeply about. So, when asked, you serve. But I think of it now, and I tell people say to me, oh, you're different, you're less crazy. Said, well, I'm a lot older, and but I compare it to being a grandparent versus a parent. I'm a grandparent now, right? So the first 10 years or 9 years that I did here, I was a parent. I worried about this kid. I worried about everything. This kid wasn't going to walk. This kid wasn't going to go to bed. This kid wasn't going to go to school. If they did go to school, they certainly weren't going to excel. There were so many problems, and I worried about every single one about this kid. I love this kid dearly, but I worried so much. I think that's my phone. I forgot to turn it off. But as a grandparent, you love those children so much, and you don't worry at all about them. And so when people say, oh, you've been through such terrible times, it's so horrible, things are here, I said, you know what? This is my grandchild. It's going to do just fine. It's 100 years old. It's an old grandchild. But it's going to live on and do very well, thank you very much, and it's going to be brilliant, and it's going to get into university, and it's going to just this grandchild is just perfect. And so that's how I see it. I'm so lucky to be able to come back as a grandparent to be a grandparent for the next little while, and I have 4 months and counting. So I'm happy to take any questions or answer any of what you'd like to ask. So the first one I picked, which is the easiest one, is any potential for an extension? No. Okay. Coming back 10 years later, what is the single biggest feat in terms of progress that you have witnessed? You know, these things of what is the best, what is those questions, what book would you take on an island? You know, those are always tough questions. I think it's the quality of the people. I think no question that our students are exceptional, extraordinary, mind-boggling, overwhelmingly wonderful. And our staff and faculty are the same. I mean, we have exceptional people. I suppose if you wanted to say what actual thing, I was probably most, just kind of wow factor when I went to revisit UBC Okanagan. If you haven't been up there, you should. That was a very difficult acquisition, if you like. It had a lot of pieces to it, a lot of issues, financial, legal, human resources, the campuses and so forth. And to see it in its glory after 10 short years, truly a campus, truly a very proud piece of UBC was just staggering for me. So that was probably, and that was in my first week, and I hadn't been there for probably 8 years or so. So that was quite exceptional. Let me see, what's this one? Whatever happened to Bort? You probably don't know who Bort is, but that's because you don't go to Imagine the first day of classes. And about, I don't know, the second or third year I was here, I told the story. I always address the students. This is like a pep rally. This is when I am a cheerleader. This is a pep rally for first-year students. And if you ever have a chance to go, you should go. Just sneak in, because it is amazing. And now it's in the Doug Mitchell Arena, which makes it even, place just reverberates. In fact, I do get worried about, fire and getting all those young people out of there if there's a problem. But I gave a speech when I was probably my second or third year, and my friend here, Herbert, who advises me all the time, told me, don't give that speech. And when Herbert says, don't give that speech, I know it's a speech I need to give. So this was a speech that told, it's about imagine, and let your imaginations go wild. You're here at the university, imagine. And I told them about my imaginary friend. I had an imaginary friend when I was a little girl, and his name was Bort. And I lived in this town that had a river running through it, and it had what they call a bascule bridge, a bridge that opens and shuts to let the boats through. And our house was on one side of the bridge, and the downtown was on the other side. It had the church and everything. We were always late. And you can imagine, 7 people, my grandfather, father, mother, 4 kids going to church on Sunday. It was not a pretty picture. And the bridge would open, and of course it was a great excuse to when you were late. You said, oh, the bridge was open. Couldn't get across. Of course, the bridge wasn't open, but Bort lived in the house, the bridge house that opened and shut the bridge. And so my dad would drive this car over the bridge, and we'd slow down and pick up Bort. Then we'd go to church. Bort went to church with us, and we came back home. My dad would slow down. We'd throw Bort out. So, of course, the students never let me forget Bort. So he's still around, I think. I think he's still there. What happened at the airport afterwards? What's that? Oh, the woman who, they just looked perplexed and walked on. How do we overtake Toronto? That's my obsession. And it should be, how do you overtake Toronto? Because I'm not going to be overtaking Toronto. It's very simple. We're just better. We do have better programs. We do a better job with our students. We provide a better education. We conduct better research. We have better facilities. We have better links around the world. We attract the best. We attract the best international students. We attract the best faculty. We attract the best staff. You will have the best president. You just have the best. And you are relentless. But most important, you're determined. You know, I'm a great believer in setting a goal, and when everybody says it can't happen, it will happen if you believe it. And, you know, of those 6 universities that I told you about, think about it. 4 of them, okay? Berkeley, UCLA, Washington, and UBC. What do they have in common? Yes, they're all on the West Coast. Duh. That is where the action is going to be. So we have all the components. We are old enough, but young enough to be flexible. You don't want to be Oxford 900 years old right now. We're big because size matters. The 2 campuses matter. To compete on the world stage, we have to be big, and we're big. We are really good, but we can be better. So that's what we have to do. We're located in the right place at the right time. You don't want to be in Toronto right now. That's not where it's going to happen. It's going to happen on the Pacific Rim, and we're here. And we're in the best, you read it in the morning newspaper today, the best city in North America and number 5 in the world. Because people want to live here, people want to recreate here, they want to work here, they want to retire here, they want to raise their families. So tell me why it won't happen. We have everything. The only reason it won't happen is shame on us, because it's there for our asking. And if in the next decade we are not number 3 instead of number 6, and Toronto is number 4 or 5, then shame on us, because it should happen. We have no excuses. So, yeah. What one piece of advice will you have for the next president? I'm not really good at giving advice. I guess I would say be yourself. The thing about this job is you're pulled in so many directions, right? You know, you have so many demands. So many people want things or feel that you can do stuff, or you should, you know, do this or that, and nothing is black or white. You know, it's like life. It's all gray. So there's always a judgment. There's always a compromise. There's always a, well, you know, and you will always have your detractors. You will always have people saying she or he made the wrong decision, or they should have done this. So if you have to listen. But at some point, you have to make a decision. You have to move forward. And the only thing you have then are your own values. That's the only thing you've got. And if you compromise those and you try to be someone you're not, then you're in trouble. You know, I always said, if I can defend a decision, you may not agree with it, but if I can defend it on the basis of my values, then, well, I'm okay. But if I have to contrive it and say, well, somebody pushed me into that. I really didn't believe it, but, you know, somebody told me to do it, or there was so much noise and I just couldn't figure it out. That's when you get into trouble. So be yourself. And we're very fortunate in the way we select our presidents, because you have all this opportunity to be questioned and looked at and viewed by a fairly comprehensive representative selection committee. And so I always felt that they got a good chance when I was being looked at in 96, 97. They got a good chance to see me. And I wasn't somebody I wasn't in the interview. I was me. So they knew, they might have had buyer's remorse, but they knew what they were buying. They knew what they were getting. And I also knew what I was getting. And then, you just have to stay true to that. What else do we have here? You spoke to the value, that staff bring to make UBC the success. And the question is, how do we find that the faculty researcher shares the same view, right? How do we get that kind of commitment? Well, my own sense is, particularly at the dean level and the department head level, there is enormous recognition for how important staff are. I've had deans say to me, we have the best staff that any university, and these are people who've worked around the world, who come in and say, wow, this staff is amazing. So I think whether you feel it or not, you've got that level of support. And you certainly have the level of support at the board and at the highest levels. I think the issue here, and we all can do a better job of it, is telling people how good they are. We don't do that well as a society. We're more likely to tell you when you make a mistake than when you do something well. We assume, I find myself, I was in a meeting yesterday with, a couple people, administrators, and they performed, we were in Victoria with the government, and they performed, I was so proud. I didn't have to say anything. I was so proud. And I went home and I was, telling my family, it was a great day, blah, blah, blah. And then at about midnight when I'm in bed, and usually when I go to sleep, I'm out. I don't have any trouble sleeping. But I woke up and I said to myself, I need to tell them they did such a great job. I kind of assumed they knew, right? But don't think of yourself. Don't you love it when somebody tells you you've done a great job? I love it when somebody tells me I've done a great job. And yet we tend to think, they know that. They know it. They hear it all the time. No. So if I were going to say to faculty, I don't think it's that they don't appreciate staff. I just don't think they're good at telling you how much they appreciate. And we need to reinforce that. You need to tell each other when you're working together how great you've done. And you need to tell your faculty when they succeed how happy you are that they've succeeded, because we all take credit for that. And I think it's a cultural issue more than anything. And I can tell you, it's the most talk about pay, you can talk about pay till we're all underpaid, okay? Well, I'm not underpaid, but you're all underpaid, okay? I'm overpaid, okay? But honestly, I think the more important than pay is praise. And it's a very powerful reinforcer. So if you take one thing out of this lunch, today when somebody does something really great, a student, a faculty, a staff, just tell them. It doesn't cost you a thing. And they'll go, oh no, I didn't do anything. Yes, you did. Now you can't do it, you have to be sincere. It's got to be real. If they haven't done anything good, don't say it. One more. What do you like to do in your free time? Well, I have 4 grandchildren, and 2 of them are here, so I don't have much free time now, but they're probably number one. I'm very family. I'm married to the same person I've been married to all my life. And I have 2 wonderful daughters who have families. And so most of my free time, what I have now, is family. But, I do the usual stuff. I like to read. I like to hike. I like to ski. We have a place at Whistler. I ski as much as we can, not so much anymore, but I ski with my grandchildren. I like to cook. I love to cook. And the other thing most people don't know, should I tell them? I'm a quilter. So I like to sew. And it's kind of one of those dying things, but I grew up in a family. My mother sewed. It taught me how to sew. We made, she made all our clothes, and I never got into that too much because they never looked right. But I love material. I love playing with it, and if you're really, really good, and if I live long enough and you have something special in your life, you just might get a quilt. That's it.
I think we can all agree that maybe we should just all say together that was a great job. We can all agree on that. I was so looking forward to this. I think we all were, because as Martha did allude to, we were seeing some tough times. Maybe if you read too much of the newspapers, I've stopped reading newspapers actually the last while. But in some sense, your coming back was exactly what we needed. And I think today sort of proves why, which is sometimes we have to take a step back and just go, we do a lot of things really well here, and let's not lose sight of why we're here. And it's also why we have Hot Lunch, so that you don't lose sight that you're amongst a community of people who are devoted to the university, that you see that mirrored every month when we show up, and we see it mirrored also in our leadership. So thank you so much, President Piper, for coming and talking to us today, for cheering us on. I mean, in that very positive way but in a sincere way. And I think I'll take that out actually too. This has got to be real, and in some sense, this was very real for us. So thank you again for coming. Next time it will be Kate Ross, registrar. So we heard from some people that we don't really know the process by which students get admitted and things. Some of us, I don't even know, and I teach them. So how do they show up here? So she's going to be talking about that. And then the month after that, we have Ian Burgess, who was here, but I think has just had to step out. Again, some of the more interesting, arcane, perhaps, things that go on in terms of the financing of this place and the money. And we joke about money, and we joke about balancing the books. And I know many of you take care of the budgets for your units. It's not a small thing. And so again, having Ian Burgess, and use those eBay skills. I think we're setting a precedent that you got to be there right there. It's like a rock concert or something. You got to get the tickets right away. But thank you again. Join me in again thanking President Piper for a great job speaking to us today.